You don't have to remain the version of you that you've been up to this point in your life. You can make shifts. You can transform. You can make changes. And so in this video, I thought I might share with you some of the changes that I've made in hopes that it might get you thinking about what would make you happy, what would make you feel like, you're living your best life, right? Because, that's what we all want. And honestly, that's what we all deserve. So I think when you're younger, making changes is harder in some ways and easier than other ways. It's harder because if you're younger, like maybe in your 20s or something, it's like you're still very attached to the approval of others, especially family members who have certain expectations of you. I'm one of 4 kids. My sister passed away about 6 months ago, but up until then, I was one of 4 kids. Now I'm one of 3. And out of the 4, I'm the only one that made it through college. And so I think growing up in the Detroit area, where, it's a very corporate kind of town, people expected me to have a corporate kind of career. And, that's kind of, and I had absolutely no intention of that and was pretty vocal about saying it. But, in a place like Detroit, where a job, back in the day, a job with one of the automotive manufacturers was considered like the top thing that you could do, people figured, well, that's probably where she'll land, Well, I never did. And, like I say, I think that when you're younger, you have the energy and you have the years and years and years ahead of you that makes it easier to change and to make shifts, because it's like, oh, well, if this doesn't work, I can do something different, right? But what makes it harder, and for some people, it makes it so hard that, they don't do it. They just follow along in the path of what they feel is expected of them. It's hard to break away. When we're kids, right, we do what our parents expect of us because, that's being a good girl or a good boy, and most of the people who watch my channel are women. So we'll stick with good girl with that version, It's like your life and your safety depends on following what your parents, what your family says that you need to do. Don't run out in the street. Don't touch the hot stove. Don't do this. Don't do that. Right. But there's a point. And I don't think anyone, hands you a certificate and says, okay, now you're an adult and you get to make all your own decisions and you get to live by those decisions, right? I guess when you go to college and stuff like that, you do get a degree, you get a piece of paper. But what that does is it acknowledges the decisions that you've made up to that point. Like you've followed a certain course of study, right? Whereas making decisions about adult choices, like what you want to do with your life, where you want to live your life, maybe it's your dream to live in Spain or Japan or, something different and, follow a career that is really exciting to you, right? And everybody else thinks, oh my God, no, you can never do that. That won't work. Some people are really, really opinionated about things that they don't know jack shit about, quite honestly, And for me, the path that I wanted is I wanted to do professional speaking and I wanted to be a book author. And I ended up doing those things. it took me a long time, right? I mean, I ended up, working in a speakers bureau because I wanted to learn, like, how does a person make money doing a speech? Okay, so I worked for speakers and I got them corporate speaking engagements. And then there was a time for 7 years where I worked for a guy who was a big seminar guru and New York Times best-selling author and everything. And that gave me the opportunity to see, like, what that world was like. And there were parts of it that I thought were really exciting and cool. And there were other parts that just kind of like, no, that's not quite what I want. So I kind of like shaped it my own way. And there were people all along the way who were kind of amazed that I pulled things off. And there were other people who were like, oh, well, I knew it would never work because, no, I did not have a New York Times #1 bestseller, but I did have a book that was a business bestseller. It did very well for a long time. It's no longer in print now, but it did very well. And that was just a world that my parents didn't know. My mom was a nurse. My dad was an engineer in the automotive industry, And so it's like they couldn't envision this sort of non-traditional kind of life that I aspired to, I wanted, and I ended up having, And then when I got to the point where I decided, it's like, okay, if somebody asks me to speak, great, I'll do it. But I'm not going out there looking for speaking engagements and selling books and stuff like that. And people started coming to me, asking me for help in writing their books. And I thought, wow, is this just a fluke, or is this something that could really be a path for me? And for the next 12 years, I was a book coach, and I would guide and direct people through the process of writing their own book because I had had a successful book. I had a strong foundation in writing. I had worked for extremely successful book authors, and so that's what I did. And then I reached a point where I said, you know what? It's been 12 years. I think it's enough. Plus, the first time I had a client call me on the phone and say, you know what? Somebody told me that instead of spending months writing a book, I can have AI write it for me in about an hour. I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this, and I use AI, for different things from time to time, and I appreciate it, what it can do. But I kind of saw that coming down the pike, that change. So now here I am on YouTube being a content creator and, like really following the path to see what I can do with that. And it's like another change, right? And like my best friend, she's like, I don't get it. How do you make money with YouTube? I don't get, try to explain it, So anyway, now she gets it, and I don't know if she's supportive or not, but you know what? I don't care, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm loving it and it's fulfilling me, So that was another change, right? So, and as you get older, the changes are a little bit harder. I know because you know that you don't have a lot of your tomorrows were yesterday, quite honestly, and it's more costly emotionally if something doesn't go right. It's not horrendous. It's not horrific, like I'm not making money with YouTube yet. I'm just doing this because I love it. And, but it is more challenging. And also, I always felt like I had a purpose. And then when I turned a certain age, I went, what's my purpose now? What's my purpose now? And you know what? It's like, I can have a purpose or not. So anyway, so with all that said, I just want to encourage you that if there's a certain change that keeps coming up again and again and again, that just won't let you go. It's like eventually you got to follow it. And the longer you wait, sometimes the harder it is. Sometimes there's a period of time when you're sort of in training for it. Like, when I was working for a New York Times bestselling author, I was in training. When I was learning how the speaking business worked, I was in training, but I kept taking little steps up. And even though other people didn't understand it, friends and family, it's like, that's okay. They don't have to. I understand it. It makes sense to me, and it brings me what I want to feel fulfilled. And I want that for you too. So this is Denise, what I wish I knew at 60. Please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see a comment from you about your own changes either you've made or you're thinking about making. I read all the comments. I respond to most of them. So thanks so much. Have a great day.